Hey guys, it's Shannon with Magic Mentality, and I am a Reiki practitioner, spiritual healer, self-love guru, and a viral crime video commenter. I do so much, right? Well, today we will be looking at a awesome YouTube channel called Explore With Us, or they also call themselves Ewu, and they call their watchers Ewu Crew. I'm a part of the Ewu Crew. I don't mind it. Okay? And they are great creators. They do a great job with their videos. Now, they have really good crime videos when it comes to parents, any type of abuse or neglect when it comes to their children. Now, a theme that I noticed with them is when it comes to mothers in particular unaliving their children. They call them monsters, they call them evil, and even when the parameters around the situation obviously shows illness, postpartum depression, or even postpartum psychosis, it gives way to a lot of bashing to the mothers. And I am here to bring awareness to the effects of postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, and the spiritual ramifications of that, and how we could use self-love and self-care to prevent these things from happening. So today we're looking at a video that hits home for me. I was very sensitive to this video because as a Black American, there have been a lot of changes and milestones within our culture when it comes to mental illness and when it comes to postpartum depression. This video features a mother of a 3-month-old child, a Black woman, and so many red flags were ignored, lacked urgency, and ultimately gave way to this mother succumbing to her mental illness. So let's get into it, guys, and get some commentary going.
What happened?
Police. I don't know. This house is big. I don't know where my little cousin at. So can you please?
Where is the 3-month-old baby?
The baby, lady. The baby is on my mama's kitchen counter with his head smashed. Now I need you to please send me.
Okay, is it a male or female?
Know where my little cousin is at. Now if a little girl pop up with a weapon, I'm not gonna have a little cousin no more. So can you please? I know it's hard to talk. Can you please just send the police?
As disturbing as this find was, there was something even more terrifying lurking nearby. The killer was hiding somewhere in the house.
Look,
Is the baby breathing?
listen, lady. The baby is deceased.
Okay. All right, we're setting the police and an ambulance, okay?
Mama.
What is your name, sir?
Mama. Son. Hello.
What is your name?
I'm Robert Stewart.
20-year-old Deasia Watkins and her boyfriend James Brown welcomed their healthy baby girl Janiyah Watkins on December 4th, 2014. At first, everything seemed to be going well for the couple. Deasia was excited to become a mother, and after a tough childhood of her own, she vowed to give her child the love she'd never received. But
Now, we see how this starts out. The video begins with the after effects of all of this. Now, they said that this couple was happy to bring home baby. They also mentioned that this mother had a troubled childhood, aka childhood trauma, like so many of us do. Okay? Now, it also says that she wanted to give the love that she didn't have to this baby. What happened?
no one would have ever predicted the sheer horror that lay ahead. It all began when Cheviot police were dispatched to the apartment where the family was living on January 25, 2015, around midnight. Upon hearing Deasia's screams and baby Janiyah's cries, multiple neighbors had become very concerned and placed 911 calls.
Now, This took place January 2015. All right. I had my third child, my eldest daughter, November 2015. Okay. And during that time, I experienced major, major shifts in my mental health. I could feel myself slipping. I felt very unsafe around my children. Very. And I think this is why this hit home so heavily with me, because of what I went through that same year and what my spirit team really stepped in and prevented a story like this one.
Police soon arrived at the residence. However, Deasia refused to open the door. When officers threatened to force entry into the apartment, a young man opened the door, who was soon determined to be James' cousin, Chris Gully. Right away, members of law enforcement detected a strong odor of marijuana and noted Deasia's behavior seemed erratic. According to official case notes, as an officer tried to take Janiyah out of Deasia's arms in fear for the baby's safety, Deasia allegedly attempted to choke Janiyah, who was only a mere 7 weeks of age.
Now, this mother previously, the baby was only 7 weeks. 7. When do mothers usually go back to work after having a baby? And she, even with the police presence, tried to hurt this baby. Something was obviously off with this woman, with this mother. Obviously, things could have been handled differently. Let's listen some more.
EMTs were called to the scene to perform welfare checks on both Deasia and Janiyah. They eventually managed to take Janiyah, and Deasia immediately passed out on the floor, though the cause of her having lost consciousness is unknown. She was soon moved to Deaconess Hospital for psychiatric care, where she would...
And this mother lost consciousness, and they don't know why.
...remain on a 72-hour investigative hold. By the following day, her diagnosis had been established. She was suffering from postpartum psychosis. In addition, marijuana was found in her system, though she denied using it initially. She was placed on an antipsychotic medication. Due to side effects associated with the medication, Deasia was informed that she would have to discontinue nursing Janiyah.
Now, this piece is very important. Now, she went to the doctor. If it wasn't for other people sending in welfare checks on her, she probably would have never gotten the help that she needed initially. Looking at this dynamic, even seeing her fall unconscious, they didn't even know why. And they placed her on a 72-hour hold. 72 hours, in my opinion, is not long enough. But they saw that she had postpartum psychosis. There's postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. Postpartum psychosis is the absolute most dangerous, because the break from reality, the mental breakdown, the spiritual breakdown when a woman has postpartum psychosis is very, very alarming. And in a situation like this, it is actually not surprising for something like this to have happened, but there needs to be better measures to prevent these types of things from happening. We don't know how to prevent postpartum depression. We don't know how to prevent postpartum psychosis, but we most definitely know the outcome when somebody does not have the proper medical, emotional, and spiritual supports during this time. And she could not breastfeed her child. Studies showing with breastfeeding is that it lessens the effects of postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis, and it solidifies the bond between mother and child. Now, are homeopathic, holistic, and herbal remedies covered by insurance? Not usually. Most places here in the US, that stuff isn't covered. But the majority of medications, psychotropic medications that people have to go on, prevents breastfeeding. Excuse me. And I know from experience, because my eldest child, I had horrible postpartum depression. I had to be put on medication. I actually was on medications while I was pregnant with him because my mental illness was so heavy. And I couldn't breastfeed my child. And it definitely made an impact. So I decided when I had my second child that I would breastfeed. And I did have postpartum depression. But I will say that my attachment to him was much better and he was a lot healthier. But of course, everybody's different. And I am happy that they put her on an antipsychotic, which is usually the go-to. But what else was done? Let's see if anything else was done other than saying, take this pill and go home and take care of a baby.
And based on Deaja's behavior, staff expressed concern to the caseworker that Deaja didn't seem to be grasping the seriousness of the situation. According to case notes, they felt that she was minimizing the incident, as she described it as no big deal. By January 30th, Deaja had returned to the apartment, and a safety plan was officially in place. She was allowed supervised contact with Janiyah, provided Deaja took her prescribed medication, and that either James or his sister Jaleisha was present at all times. But a visit from the caseworker reinforced the fact that Deaja wasn't on board with the plan. She had...
Now, this is a safety plan. Now, I'm very familiar with this. This is something that they come up with. This is a great thing that they put in place because then it holds other people within her support network responsible. Okay, they took the right steps when it comes to this. All right. Yes, these are the supports to make sure she is supervised with the baby. What did we hear that they were doing for Deaja? Other than giving her a pill to take every day, what other supports were there for her to make sure that she's taking care of herself, to be able to check in with her on a daily basis to see what her mental health is like? What other ways were done? It sounds like the supports were put there to keep her supervised, but nobody can force her to take these medications. And nobody can really force her to stay away from her baby. I mean, they could. But what I found in my situation is that nobody believed that I would hurt my children. They didn't feel it was a threat. Let's see how this goes.
Hadn't filled the prescription for her antipsychotic medication. The caseworker reiterated that it was imperative Deaja take her medication, or it wouldn't be safe for Janiyah to stay in the home. James made it clear that she'd have to leave the home if she didn't comply, as the apartment lease was allegedly under his name. Deaja reluctantly agreed. She didn't want to be separated from Janiyah, and in addition, she felt she had nowhere else to go. Of course, soon these concerns would no longer be relevant, as disaster was lurking just around the corner. 1 week later, a caseworker completed an unannounced visit at the residence and was unable to verify if Deaja had filled her prescription. Over the next couple of weeks, everything continued to deteriorate. By the end of February, Deaja had abandoned the apartment and moved in with an aunt. It was clear that the current situation wasn't working, and it was about to become exponentially worse.
Now, like I said, nobody can force her to take her medications, right? She is not able to make decisions for herself. Very obvious, much less take care of a child. There is a caseworker coming to make sure that she takes her medication. Okay, is the caseworker making sure that she has gotten into therapy or any type of aftercare? Is the caseworker making sure that she's in some type of intensive outpatient where she is being checked on a daily basis? Is the caseworker looking into having a wraparound worker? Are these things available everywhere where they have a home visitor come and help with that supervision? To help watch this mother and watch her behavior to make sure that she is taking care of herself and that this type of situation isn't too heavy for the family, because that is exactly what it sounds like. In the coming weeks, she started to deteriorate, but the family didn't have the wherewithal to 5150 her or put her back into the psych ward to where they can get some relief to know what to do and keep her, themselves, and the baby safe. This is not talked about enough. This is not looked at enough. It is dangerous. And I will always, always, always say it is dangerous and absolutely irresponsible to not have more supports at home for families. Yes, the baby is somewhat of a priority. But as long as there's somebody taking care of the baby, feeding the baby, rocking the baby, changing the baby, and doing the basics for baby, most of that attention needs to go on the mother. And this is why.
Custody proceedings began on March 6th. As paternity had not been established and a mental health assessment needed to be completed on Deasia, the magistrate who presided over the hearing granted custody to the Hamilton County Department of Job and Family Services. During the interim, Janiyah was placed in the care of Deborah Stewart, Deasia's aunt. Neither James nor Deasia were allowed to see Janiyah, and Deborah agreed to the terms. During the caseworker's visit to her home, she confirmed that she'd not allowed Deasia contact with Janiyah. She was adhering to the...
Now, another great thing that was done, the baby was taken out of mom and dad's custody and put with the aunt. This goes to show just how dire the situation was. Now, it was all on this aunt to take care of a new baby. Make sure that she supervised the mother if ever she did see the baby. She had to take on this responsibility. Okay? Now, when we are setting up these supports, of course, we want to use family, the best way to go. But these family members also have to be vetted. Are they truly able to give support? This sounds like a case that's too much for one person. Somebody needs to be working around the clock, and people say, well, sometimes we just don't have that kind of support in families, which is very, very true. So what other avenues can be taken? Requirements of postpartum doulas. Requirements of those postpartum doulas who actually stay with the mother and stay within the household. Whereas like a nanny service, where they have overnight doulas, so that the mom is getting the rest that she needs and also putting forth and implementing supports and efforts and therapies so that the mom guilt doesn't come on just because there's help in the home. But let's see how Aunt was handling things.
Agreement, and baby Janiyah was thriving. But in actuality, things weren't at all as they appeared to be, nor as Deborah claimed them to be. You see, Deasia had been spending time with Janiyah, a lot of time actually. She'd moved into Deborah's home days earlier. Deborah was coping with her own personal issues and health problems. Caring for a baby on her own was just too much to handle. So Deborah allowed Deasia to stay, despite the fact that she'd explicitly agreed not to allow her contact with Janiyah.
Right there. Now, remember how I told you about my story, how my family thought it was no big deal. She won't hurt her baby. And really downplayed what was going on? Here's an example. Because most of the time, family is just going to think that everything's going to be okay. They don't want to think that. They don't want to admit that a mother is a danger to their child. They don't want to admit that. But it's true. It is very true. If there is not enough self-love, if there is not enough self-care, if there is not enough support, the whole family is in danger. And I will continue to preach that. People need to take these things seriously. And it doesn't even have to be to the point of authorities coming in. Families need to know that this is the supports that we need. Come in, push past those boundaries, and make sure that this person is okay. And if it comes to the point where the courts ask you to step in, follow the directions. Listen to them. And if you know that you can't do it, admit that. Of course, you don't want the baby to go to the system. There's all these things that we could think about. But the fact of the matter is the baby's safety and the mother's safety is what needs to be priority. And if it's something that you can't handle as a family member, don't just look at it as obligation. Be honest. Can you really step in and say, no, you can't see the baby unless you do X, Y, and Z. And I'm not playing. Let's see how it turned out.
3 days after the caseworker's visit, a life came to a shockingly brutal end within the confines of Deborah's walls. A dispatcher received the frantic 911 call early that morning.
Thanks so much for being here, Robert.
Since 911, where's the address of your emergency?
Somebody please send the police. Please.
What is the address?
5957 Wild West.
Okay, ma'am.
Help me.
Ma'am, who were you just you were just talking to somebody. Who were you just talking to?
My son, he came over here. He found I was asleep.
Ma'am, you weren't crying but I heard you talking to him. You were fine. And then when I picked up, you started crying. I need you to tell me what's going on.
The dispatcher is trying to make sense of the situation, but so far, nothing is adding up, and her skepticism is evident.
Oh my God, help me.
Listen to me. I need you to stop crying, okay? Stop crying. I need you to take a deep breath and tell me what happened.
All I know is my son came in here and woke me up and said, Mama, the baby's dead. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Here, talk to my son, brother.
How old is the baby?
The baby is 3 months. Oh my God, I'm going to jail.
Deborah passed the phone off to her son, Robert, who'd arrived at the home along with his children just minutes earlier.
See? And you hear her say she's not supposed to be here. But she said that because she knew that she was responsible. She knew that she was not supposed to let her be alone with the baby. She knew that. And she didn't take it seriously enough. And now her son, with his children, had to come and find this little baby in his mother's house.
It was his youngest child who had arrived in the kitchen first and bore witness to the terribly gruesome scene. Robert had immediately ushered his children out of the house to safety, then re-entered, desperate to locate his mother, Deborah.
Hello?
What happened?
Police. I don't know. This house is big. I don't know where my little cousin is. So can you please...
Where is the 3-month-old baby?
The baby is on my mama's kitchen counter.
Deasia was nowhere to be found, and Robert feared she might have been in danger or had potentially been killed as well.
Okay, I need to know what happened to the baby.
I don't know what happened to the baby. I came into the house. She told me, came into the house. The baby was on the counter. My mom was in the bed asleep. I woke my mom up and we calling you. That's all I know. I don't know nothing else.
Okay. Listen to me.
Look,
Is the baby breathing?
listen, lady. The baby is deceased.
The first two officers arrived a few minutes later and immediately entered the home. One officer made his way to the kitchen and quickly confirmed that baby Janiyah was deceased.
It's so sad. It's so sad. When we look at how self-love and self-care, self-empowerment, community and support could have prevented this. I know that it's only so much that can be done, but I know there's more that can be done. I feel for this family. I feel for this mother to be so disconnected from herself that she could do something like this.
Simultaneously, the second officer located Deborah in the bathroom of the master bedroom. Officers on scene radioed for additional officers to assist. Amidst the chaos and confusion, a few officers cleared the home and, in the process, they located Deasia. She was in the bed in her room, tucked under the covers, though her hair remained visible. Officers pulled the covers back, and Deasia, without so much as a word, was handcuffed and moved to the hallway and remained under the watch of another responding officer. The rest of the home was cleared without incident. As Deborah's house had become a crime scene that would require thorough processing, the parties were moved to the Criminal Investigations Section, known as CIS, at the local Cincinnati police station. It was there that everything began to unfold, but it would take some time to get to the horrendous truth hidden beneath a cluster of outrageous lies.
So of course the mother is blamed because she's the one who did it. But then we have the aunt, we have the father, we have their entire community, and we have this big, ugly thing called postpartum psychosis. Can we blame the psychosis? Can we send the psychosis to jail? No. What could have prevented this? And now we get to see somewhat of it being played out while this mother, who has already been established to be going through postpartum psychosis, to have a severe mental illness, be questioned by the police. Do you think she had a lawyer back there with her? Let's see. And I'm going to start skipping ahead because the video is going to get so long. I just want you guys to get the point. Now we see here with the mother, the aunt, her reaction. And just take a listen to how her son is speaking.
You want me to help you do? You can't bring back right. You know that. You go to and what can't take this. And what about us? And what about your kids? I can't. What about your kids? What about us? You being real selfish. No, I'm not. It ain't nothing you can do. You trying to help. It ain't nothing you can do.
Now you see, he just called her. He's saying you're being real selfish. From what we see is that your mother has horrible health issues. Okay? And everything was put on your mother. Just like it is with most moms, that they're just supposed to be selfless and sacrifice, right? Because you're coming over to her house with your children and you find the baby. Your mom has all these health issues. Your mom has all this stuff. She's an elderly woman. Why wasn't the baby with you? she's being selfish, but she just had to deal with immense trauma, and she was responsible in this scenario. But he can sit there and fix his mouth and call his mama selfish. Okay. Now, here I want you to see the mother, Deasia.
Meanwhile, Deborah is beyond inconsolable.
This motherfucker just killed me. I can't take it. I don't think I can live.
I know I should go by Dee Dee. So how do you spell your name?
But Deasia refuses to sign off on the form to acknowledge that she has received and understands her rights.
We're going to take some pictures of you. Okay, and we're going to do some other clothes. I would like to sit down and talk with you and be able to see what you need that we can help you with. But I can't do that unless you talk back to me.
Despite the detective's efforts to elicit a response from Deasia, they are unsuccessful.
She's not even speaking to them. And then she's in there without a lawyer. Like, this is...
Shortly thereafter, a team arrives to handle photographs.
Dee Dee, go ahead and stand up. Stand up. You have gloves on? Yeah. Make her stand up. Go ahead and stand up. Get this on. Let's do some pictures right now. Just can you prop her them right there?
Do you see how skinny she is? Look at her neck. Look at her legs. She's gaunt. Do you think this woman was feeding herself? I don't think so. Look at her. Look at her eyes. Look at this sickness. And they had to nerve to be leaving her by herself. I swear to God. This is something that postpartum psychosis can do. And it's not a requirement to have support when we cart women off on home after they have a baby. It's ridiculous.
Mission less than...
And so here we have her confessing. Oops, sorry guys. I just wanted to get this last part if we can.
The denial cease. The ugly truth has finally been exposed.
That you had a part in this, okay? That you did this. He's trying to figure out, we're all trying to figure out what was going on, how or why this happened. We know Aunt Debbie didn't do it, and you know that too.
At what point, once you got to the kitchen, what happened once you got there?
This time, Deasia provides a different answer, and it's unbelievable. With her admission, less than 40 minutes into the interview, the denial cease. The ugly truth has finally been exposed.
So she admits to what happened.
Shortly after Deasia had been taken off to the hospital for an evaluation. The beginning of 2015, which marked Jania's first month, brought along with it some changes in Deasia. According to James, she began speaking regularly about religion. While that in itself wasn't a cause for alarm, it was out of character for Deasia. Her unsettling behavior included claims that demons were present. There were times she'd be fine one moment, then uncontrollably crying the next. James had managed to capture the audio of one such occurrence as he clutched Janiyah in his arms, unsure of what else to do. He played the recording for the screener, and a hysterical Deasia could be heard screaming, "Why, God? Why me? What did I do wrong? Who are these demons? Please stop it." According to James, the incident, not unlike the one that occurred just hours earlier, was unprovoked and completely unexpected.
The spiritual warfare of postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. She had absolutely no control over this. This is the sad truth. And this father didn't know what to do. And it's just the two of them there with this little baby. And you can even just look at her pictures. Look at her. Look at the difference in how she looks. Look at this. And then you take a look at her here. Gaunt. Gone. Her eyes just lifeless. Done. Women don't deserve this. Babies don't deserve this. Families don't deserve this at all. More needs to be done. People need to be aware that just because babies are born every day does not mean that it's okay to just send them off and hope for the best. Not anymore. It happens too much.
According to the Hamilton County prosecutor, Job and Family Services did their job. Nevertheless, the haunting case is one you likely can't wrap your head around, and the question of why really wasn't answered, at least not completely. Deasia's initial plea in response to her aggravated murder charge was not guilty by reason of insanity, but the presiding judge ordered that she receive psychiatric treatment. It was later determined that she was competent to stand trial upon receiving the required treatment. However, a trial date never came. Deasia Watkins pleaded guilty to the brutal murder of her own infant in February of 2017. She received a sentence of 15 years to life in prison, with the possibility of parole at 13 years, as she was given credit for the time she'd already spent in custody.
Hello?
What happened?
Well, there you have it, guys. This beautiful young woman's life just thrown away because there weren't proper supports. And Children and Family Services said, yeah, okay, we did what we were supposed to do. That's fine. But what was done for the mother? Other than pills. There wasn't much support given. There wasn't any education for the family. Nothing. It was weekly check-ins. Are you taking your medication? No. We'll stick the baby here and we'll just hope that everybody follows the rules. In these situations, the mother's health needs to take priority because it directly affects the child. Be aware and do better.